Hello and welcome to Digital Health Technologies Module 3, Lesson 1, Writing Effective Emails. The Digital Health Technologies course is a product of the Grow Our Behavioral Health Workforce, a program of the Center for Health Innovation. Purpose. This lesson is intended to help behavioral health professionals use email more effectively and safely. Learning objectives. Students who successfully complete this lesson will be able to 1. Determine when email is the most effective way to communicate information, and 2. Develop clear, well-organized, and effective email messages. Keywords include subject line, salutation, and closing. Lesson outline. This lesson begins with a short introduction to email and its uses in the behavioral health setting. Section 2 will cover when to use email and when not to. And in Section 3, we'll talk about how to craft an effective email. This includes writing effective subject lines, using an appropriate salutation, using an appropriate closing, planning and writing your email, and reviewing your message before sending. We'll close with the lesson summary, and as always, don't forget to check your understanding with the self-assessment quiz available at the end of the module. You must pass with an 80%. However, you may take the quiz as many times as you need. Section 1, Introduction to Email Communications. Email is an important form of communication in most workplaces, including the behavioral health setting. Too often, however, emails don't accomplish their purpose. They may be too short and they don't contain enough information. They may be too long and leave the reader bewildered or overwhelmed. They may be too formal. They may be too informal. They may not make their message or their point clear. So there can be lots of problems with emails. Most importantly, they could disclose sensitive information, including protected health information, and lead to fines or worse for the writer and their organization. So we have to be careful with email. Every email you send should be written thoughtfully and with its intended purpose in mind. Email should be used to share information clearly and concisely. An effective email saves time for both the writer and the recipient. An ineffective email is a waste of time and could land you and your clinic in trouble. Take a moment when you get a chance, and there's a question on the quiz about this, to listen to Carrie Newcomer's warning about pushing send a little too quickly when communicating by email. You can find the link to this embedded in the written module and also in the PowerPoint on your course site. As Carrie Newcomer says, don't push send. We have all made email bloopers. Do your very best not to make them at work. And here are some tips on how to prevent I shouldn't have pushed send feelings. First step that you need to know, email is not a secure form of communication. If you have any question whatsoever about whether the information you are sending is sensitive and needs to be protected, contact your IT department or use a secure encrypted system internal to your organization. When to use email and when not to. You should use email when you need to share or receive concrete information, such as a supply order, scheduling a class, or other things that are very concrete. When you need to share information that is not time sensitive, not everybody's going to get back to you immediately via email. Or if you need to send someone an electronic file, such as a document or spreadsheet. Before you send it, if you're going to be sending it over an external network or in a non-encrypted network, ask yourself, does it contain protected health information or other information that would be better sent securely? Email is wonderful when you need to distribute non-sensitive information to a large number of people, or when you need a written record of an appropriate communication. When not to use email. If you have a long, complicated message, or a message that requires additional discussion, set up a meeting instead, even a virtual meeting. Don't use email if the information is highly confidential. Remember, email is never completely private. Your message could be forwarded on to other people without your knowledge. And even if you delete email messages, a backup copy of your email is always stored on a server where it can be easily retrieved. And don't send an email when you are angry or frustrated and likely to say something you regret. Section 3, Crafting an Effective Email. How to craft an effective email. As much as we use email, we very, very rarely pause to take the time to craft the email effectively. Here are 3 major steps to making your emails more effective. Start with knowing your purpose. What do you want to happen? Why are you writing? Why are you spending the time writing, and why are you expecting the recipient to spend the time reading this missive? Number 2, know your audience. Who are you writing to? Write yourself a quick note, just even a handwritten note, jotting down your purpose and your audience, and you'll already be on the way to crafting an effective email. Next, pay attention to the subject line. It's definition time again. Subject line, the general title of the email that you are sending, typed in the blank box above the message. Subject lines are important for readers to know whether they want to open your email. A good subject line really leads to your email being opened or set aside. So pay close attention to that subject line. Here are some useless subject lines. Hi, hello, question, FYI. They're generic. They don't really invite anyone to open the email. A useful subject line is much more specific. Meeting on Tuesday, October 2nd. Follow-up from our conversation on January 14th. Scheduling training and communication skills. You're already encapsulating the purpose of your email in the subject line. If you have a clearly defined purpose, you can write a better subject line, because the subject line should include the purpose. Need to know. Email threads. If you exchange several emails with others, it's called creating a thread. The topic will often change. When that happens, change the subject line or start a new thread, so you're not emailing back and forth with a subject line that is completely inappropriate to the topic you're discussing. Crafting effective emails. Salutations and closings. Again, definition time. Salutation. A salutation is the greeting with which you open the email. It also applies to letters. Write the salutation carefully, just as if you were going to greet the person or the people who you're sending the email to in person. Only use first names if you are on a first name basis with the recipient. Use dear or not. It's acceptable either way in the work setting. Use honorifics such as doctor or the honorable when appropriate. So even if you know someone by first name who is a doctor or has some sort of credential, if you're introducing them to other people, it's often a good idea to use that honorific. So, for instance, you're writing an email that includes Dr. Smith and 3 other people. So use the Dr. Smith, even though you and Dr. Smith went out to lunch yesterday and you're on first name basis. Crafting an effective email, salutations and closings. Definition time again. The closing of an email is the way you sign off on your email after you've written the body of the email. Tips for writing the closing. Use an appropriate closing like thank you, sincerely, all best, regards. These are all appropriate. Tailor the closing to the situation and include a signature file. Another definition, signature file. A file that is attached to every email you send out. It generally includes your name, address, email, phone, and other contact information, company logo, etc. Your employer will probably set up a standard signature file for you. But be sure to include these. It makes it much easier for people to respond to you or even pick up the phone if they need to find your email. So you include that signature file and make sure that your closing is done professionally. You can invite people. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you for your consideration. All good phrases when appropriate. And now for the hard part, writing the email. We've talked a little bit about how you open, how you close, how you address things, but writing each email is an individual endeavor and should take a little time. Start with the purpose that you've already identified. Why are you writing this email? Audience. In this instance, think who are you writing to, not just in terms of their names, but what's their position? What's their training? How familiar are you with them? What's your relationship? And that's how you can decide how to establish your tone. What is your relationship to the audience? Always err on the side of more formal if you are unsure. Organize your emails. Start by stating your purpose for writing. That's the opening sentence, so people know immediately why you are writing. Provide some context for your writing. At our meeting on January 3rd, we discussed, be sure to separate your thoughts into paragraphs. Don't let everything run into one big long paragraph. That's really difficult to read on the screen. And finally, close with a clear statement about your desired outcome. What do you want the reader to do? By when? Please respond to my email by Tuesday, February 3rd, with some suggestions about how we should proceed. So something very clear can help. Don't forget about format. Pay attention to the way your message looks. It should be professional. Don't use a fancy font, no Comic Sans, no twinkly stars, no glam shots in your SIG file. Simply make it professional and easy to read. Format it to make it easy to quickly grasp main points. Use bullets to set off the points, and use white space to separate paragraphs into distinct blocks of text. You can sparingly use boldface type to highlight critical information such as due dates. Review it before you push send and end up singing with Carrie Newcomer in a way that is not so happy. Is this message suitable for email, or could I better communicate the information with a letter, phone call, or face-to-face meeting? Why am I sending this email, and why am I expecting the recipient to open it and read it? Does the email contain sensitive information that should not be publicly shared? Do the formality and style of my writing fit the expectations of my audience? Have I formatted my message so that it is attractive and key information is easy to find? Have I used correct grammar and punctuation? Are important items highlighted in the text? Have I provided enough context for my audience to easily understand the message? And did I identify myself and make it easy for the reader to respond? Lesson summary. Email is an important form of communication in most workplaces, including the behavioral health setting. Emails often don't accomplish their purpose, and they are full of potential pitfalls. Email is not a secure form of communication. Emails can be forwarded, and they live forever on the server from which they are sent. Email is a wonderful form of communication, but it is not right for every situation. Crafting an effective email begins with knowing your purpose, what you want to happen or your outcomes, and the audience you are writing to. Write a subject line that reflects the purpose of the email. Use an appropriate salutation. Use an appropriate closing. Choose a tone that fits your audience and your relationship with them. Organize your email carefully, beginning with purpose. Use formatting to make the information visually easy. And proofread. Conduct a spelling and grammar check before you send. The Digital Health Technologies course has been developed by the Grow Our Behavioral Health Workforce program of the Center for Health Innovation with funding from the Health Resources and Services Administration. This concludes Module 3, Lesson 1, Writing Effective Emails.